gonna sleep on the floor again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, folks. Welcome to another one of these things that we're doing. The stones in the place of happiness.
Gallstones to Abbigale.
Stones where there used to be joy in my heart.
Oh, and Toby's here for some reason.
I don't know why I'm here. I literally haven't watched or seen or read or anything of this story. I have no idea anything at all. So I'm just here. Hi.
Well, here's something,
Oh,
Toby.
yeah, I'm not leaving.
I'll tell you that what's like the Onision, the guy Onision has an OnlyFans.
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Nelson Mandela had an OnlyFans. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Everyone has an OnlyFans.
But he's dead.
Oh,
Today I turn 18, and by popular demand, I have opened an OnlyFans. My boyfriend is not a simp.
I actually saw that Twitter earlier. What the hell is like?
Right, who's got their speakers up loud?
Me, it was me. I just turned all that shit off now.
It was me, Austin.
Being Daddy Mandela OnlyFans when?
I'm all for that. Like, you know, I think he would use it for something completely different. just like a bunch of reviews or other stuff.
Do you think we should try and catch Toby up on the adventures of Onion Boy?
Okay, so it's kind of like Thomas, except it's really long. And basically, Onision wrote this book. The character James is meant to be the character James is meant to be the best possible version of Onision. So remember that as we go. Uncle Palby says, "Is this chapter where Keemstar starts white knighting for James?" Yes, indeed. If anyone knows Keemstar's ridiculous behaviour about Onision in public, but there was a school shooting and James tried to stop the school shooting, and he was wearing roller skates. So he basically heeled into the school while there was a school shooting going on. And he's in love with a girl called Abbigale. And his stepdad, Rocket Fist Rick, is the best character.
Sorry. Explain that. Right. Okay, Toby, what happened is the story is about a kid named James who sounds really mopey and is a big fan of the Arctic Monkeys. And he sees a girl and immediately gets a creepy crush on her, which they acknowledge as creepy several times, but roll with it. And then there was a school shooting. Oh wait, before he got the school shooting, he got the shit beaten out of him, and he pretends to be the bigger man or something. And then there's a school shooting, and he had Heelys, and he tried to be like the savior, but then he fucked up, and then someone did it for him, and that's where we are. And that's all I can remember.
I'm pretty scared, if I'm honest.
What's in it?
Yeah, Seth Armstrong from Emmerdale.
Yeah.
So, but he was he the school shooter? Seth Armstrong?
Yes, he was.
Well, wasn't it someone else? Or was
No, I think it was. Yeah, I think Seth was the school shooter.
I don't think it's important, if I'm honest. Or is it important? I have no idea.
Rotten Thought says, basically, Tobe, how much booze do you have?
The answer is not enough.
I've got 3 cans in the house. I've got a pint with me. I suppose.
Yeah, I'm drinking a can of Foster's right now.
And me.
God.
Oh yes, and the Flintstones run like a sex trafficking ring, and they Fred and Barney have brutally raped Chris Bores on numerous occasions.
I forgot about that.
Now that last part, surely.
Oh, and Abbigale is actually
Abbasoth.
Yeah, his name is Abbasoth, and she's like 100,000 years old and came from the center of the earth.
Key.
I'm sure this is not going to help, but I guess.
And there's the Great Kazulu.
Oh yeah, but because I really want to, waste my time reading this shit. I mean, obviously,
Yeah, so it's like, oh, should we get on with the story? Fucking no! Like,
But if we started now, it would be the soonest that we have. We spent like 20 minutes at minimum just shooting the shit about random horse shit
so, how's everybody spending their quarantine? I want to know what people have
in
been
the
up to.
house.
I've actually been I've been
Really?
I've been recording for. It's basically like a board game. So I've been asked to be the host of a board game, which is kind of like Atmosphere, but with more like a spy setting. And I get to be the black hole guy in that. But so I'm really excited about that. That's what I've been working on today. It's been really hard work. Though, 'cause we use this obnoxiously heavy camera and tripod with basically no crew. It's just me and Gemma running the whole shoot.
Yes.
Uncle Octopus says, James roller skates in and makes himself a moving target. School shooter. At last, a worthy opponent. Our battle shall be legendary. Okay, Seth officially has Ian McShane's voice now.
So basically, James roller skates in with a lightsaber and goes, "Haha, we meet again, critic."
That was my Twitter is garbage, right? It's the worst website in the world. It's a place where people moralize despite it being a website that gives a platform to pedophiles, zoophiles, and pornographers. But the best thing ever happened on Twitter the other day. Harry Partridge simply tweeted out, "Can you really trust a movie review that doesn't start with a grown man with a plastic lightsaber saying, 'We meet again, critic'?" And it just summed up an entire fucking generation of YouTube content creators. The school shooting was also a sacrificial ritual for Abyssoth. Or is it Abyssoth or is it Absathoth?
Absathoth,
Yes,
yeah.
that's better.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think who does the voices. So I do Abby and a lot of the women.
I did Rocket Fist Rick, which is just kind of like a nah, see, nah.
And I also did
Well, sort of that voice without the Nash. It's like, I'm Rick.
It's just like incredibly manly, but also from the early 30s.
I also do a voice.
Do we decide that he's actually like the first human?
Yeah, he was. He's like a. Yeah, wasn't he actually Gilgamesh?
Human.
We decided.
Yeah, that's it.
That's me, Rocket Fist Rick of Mesopotamia.
Yeah, and then like the funniest thing was one of the first things we ever saw was that one of the characters is called Mr. Hansen.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah, all these jokes, even before we started this character was introduced, we were making these jokes about because Chris Hansen wants to beat up or arrest this guy. I was gonna say Chris Balls. He's got other problems. Fred and Barney for one of them, but so as it goes along, and it goes like, oh, we've got this character who's sort of antagonistic towards James, and his name's Mr. Hansen, and every time he's introduces him, he's like, take a seat. It just never gets old.
Rotten Thoughts says he's been spending his time in quarantine drawing commissions. His main job is from home anyway. Very good for you. The manliest man ever, Rocket Fist Rick. Today we have a special guest named Toby. He has finally captured the Avatar, killed BuzzFeed, exploded a shark. So he exploded the shark that ate him and every other shark. I think you're confusing Toby with Matt there.
Also, as well, there was a thing that I had trapped you in a Saw-like dungeon.
Right.
You make me think too. Toby, if you're not around to stop us from saying weird stuff we do to you, like that time we sold you into white slavery again.
We all know how Toby's really spent quarantine. He's just sat in the corner, just dressed in rags, just bag of uncooked waffles, teeth just tearing through the plastic. Just
You're basically Gollum, but instead of the one ring, it's just uncooked waffles. Do you remember there's that conversation between Sam and about potatoes and fish and stuff like that? It's just that, but with waffles.
It's just Toby's like, what's taters then, precious? Oh, Jim has to do. Would you mind getting the door?
Yeah, I'll get the door.
Potatoes, boil them.
Mash them, stick him in a
Toby's just like, don't want nasty chips. Give me the waffles raw and doughy.
No, you never.
Friendship things you just can't get over. It's one of the comprehension things. You just can't wrap your mind around it. One of these days.
Toby, you're just lucky we haven't been bringing up your imaginary friend.
This is the best comment in the chat. Toby didn't realise there was a quarantine. His master doesn't let him watch the news. Should we get on with it? I'm going to wait for Gemma to come back. She's just answering the door. But when Gemma comes back, should we get on with the story?
Yeah, sure. Go on.
No, let's call it here for the night. That's episode 7 of Slash Tag.
Gemma has arrived with pizza. Oh, you're not pizza. Not this fight again. Okay, so this is chapter 10. The next morning, I was surprised Davis didn't leap up to greet me as I walked on the bus with Abby. Oh yeah, there's this guy called Davis who constantly rides James's dick. And Greg gets really defensive when any critics make fun of Davis because he was based on one of his friends who died. And it's like, oh, that means you can completely shield your bad writing from criticism.
Yeah, okay, so Toby, here's imagine if you just got onto your bus and you've got a friend who you go sit with. It's got you're like
that guy that works at Nintendo.
Yeah. And you're like, your friend sit on the bus and you go over to him, and the moment you step on the bus, you go, hallelujah, Toby's here to save the day. You would not be friends with someone like that.
No.
Okay. Blue Moon Samurai says, I may be in and out. I'm writing a paper about the Illuminati for class. God, I hope that's true.
Don't forget to mention about their free nipples.
You are meant to show these people the meaning of horror. We sat across from him, but he just looked out of his window, surrounding himself with a silent gloom, while paying us no attention. Hey, Davis, how are you today? I asked. Davis replied without turning towards me. Why don't you have a car? You're 17. Only losers like me ride the bus. Abby gave me a look of concern. Though Abby didn't know Davis too well yet, she understood him to be a happier person. Neither of us expected Davis to say something so negative. I responded to Davis. Not everyone has a white picket fence. Life, Davis. Some people have to ride the bus. Davis turned angrily and spoke as he pierced me with the most intense glare I have ever seen. You don't think I know that? You should get a job. Buy your own car. What are you even doing with your life? Whoa! I sat back.
Yeah, Davis is basically a combination of Sonic the Hedgehog and what you would imagine someone called Davis would be like.
Davis is LeFou from the Beauty and the Beast, basically.
Gosh, it disturbs me to see you, Onision.
I'll make it those words.
No one listens to Arctic Monkeys like James.
Katie Bennett says, I'm due for a statistics lecture in a few minutes, but I hope you're all doing well. Stay safe. Thank you very much, Katie, for your well wishes, and enjoy your lecture.
And I guess that it's hard to see why.
Let's all call the FBI. No one sick.
Well, I would say let's get cut there.
I'm especially good at gaslighting children.
My, what a guy.
Right, fuck this story. We're gonna sit down and workshop.
He made Kai cry.
Workshop Beauty and the Beast and Onision. We're gonna redo the entire Gaston song.
No one jumps state lines like Greg Starr.
Will there be an OST with the entire Onision Gaston song parody? Yes.
Naturally. Like, what else are we to do with our quarantine hours?
I'll write it. I will.
Oh, fuck. Okay, where even were we? I sat up, giving up on changing his mood, and thought to myself, happiness, as far as I care, can't be acquired through any means if love is not involved.
Shut up.
If I got a job on top of school, I'd barely have any time to spend with Abby. I needed her more than anything, and I thought Davis knew
I'm not sure if we mentioned this to you, Toby, but Onision's character is quite possibly the thirstiest motherfucker on the face of the planet.
He's the proto-simp. He's like, all simps were made from him.
He's like the fountain of simp, where all the other simps descended from.
Simp.
No, Gemma, that's not alpha simp. Doesn't really work, does it?
I was more going from the supernatural
Yeah,
alpha
I knew
vampire
what you meant.
stuff.
The apex simp.
The apex simp.
Again, these words just don't work with simp, do they?
Apex predator, though.
No, apex predator works just fine.
Isn't that just Randy Orton, the Apex Predator? That's a reference I know I'm gonna get. Fuck you guys.
The arch simp.
Jimmy, you're just saying words now. Come on.
No, this is just a chat.
Davis was probably just upset over everything that happened recently, and this was his way of coping. Trying to close the conversation on a less negative note, I said, "Well, buddy, I'm here if you need me." With the same tone he always used on me, he rolled his eyes, scoffed, and scooted closer to his window. Abby remained next to me, running her fingers over the hairs of my hand. It was such a positive distraction. I hate the sound of that,
no
by
less.
the way.
The hair,
Yeah.
like he sounds like he's got really hairy hands.
It's just Bob from Bob's Burgers. We've been picturing Onision, but of course it's not Onision. It's a self-insert. But it is a character. So yes, we should be picturing Bob, really.
Darth Simpius. Someone in the chat.
Did you ever
You know
hear
when
the
someone
tragedy
does
of
a self-insert?
iDubbbz?
It's like, you know when someone does a self-insert and like this is their best version of themselves, you expect them to be basically better in every single way. He's somehow worse in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, like, he certainly looks a lot worse. It's like really hairy arms, little mustache, apron. Later that morning, I found myself in my history class staring nervously at a very nervous Mr. Hanson.
You all realize the President of the United Freaking States is going to be here, right?
I love that the president is coming. He asked the class. Most of the students looked confused, as we were not briefed when exactly we would see him. A voice erupted as our classroom door was swiftly pushed open. The President of the United Frickin' States is about to arrive, ladies and gentlemen, said a large man wearing a black suit. Mr. Hanson laughed nervously over the fact that, what we soon realized was a member of the Secret Service, had overheard him. Mr. Hanson turned to the class and in a rushed tone said,
All right. Think before you ask the President anything. No stupid questions.
Another voice came from outside the door.
Mr.
You're right.
President, what do you think about injecting bleach into people?
You're right, Mr. Hanson. There are no stupid questions. We all froze to see it was the president. That's funny. Right now, I'm dick deep in a magical horse. As we walked in the room, I quickly realized he was much taller than I had assumed from watching TV. The president centered himself in the room as the Secret Service asked Mr. Hanson to take a seat at his desk.
Take a seat. That's a role reversal right there.
Wait, I thought, but he was doing a like if it a proper role reversal, he would have been doing an impression of Clinton, not
All right.
Toby, would you like to take over for a minute? I am going to eat some of this pizza before it goes cold.
Okay. Where the fuck are we?
4 members of the USS stood behind the president.
Oh yeah. The 4 members of the USSS stood behind the president as he began to speak.
I'm not here to bring a dark cloud into the room. I want to be uplifting, to be helpful, and I want all of you to feel like you can say whatever you like, without any fear of criticism or repercussions.
Chris Jenkins, half clown, blurted out. Why are you such a D-bag? I don't know. Most everyone in the class sat in shock as Mr. Hanson violently lurched up like a frantic animal, yelling in a high-pitched tone. Is anyone doing his voice?
Gemma is.
What's
Chris, how dare you?
Chris? How dare you disrespect the...
It doesn't matter, guys, because as soon as as soon as Chris gets back to Barney and Fred's place, he'll be dealt with immediately. Mr. Hanson.
The president interrupted.
Thank you.
A USSS member then asked Mr. Hanson to return to seat. The president walked over to Chris, pulling his own pants slightly back so he could crouch.
Now, you may feel as
Pants down.
I am what you said, a D-bag. But you should know to address me as President D-bag, as I, and many Americans, believe I earned the title of President.
Chris, now shaking and not knowing what to say, let out a nervous and horrible awkward chuckle. The president smiled and returned to the front of the room. As he said,
Now, what other questions do you have for me?
literally everyone in the class, aside from Chris,
Uncle
raised their
Octopus says, no one grooms like Greg Stan. No one peeps like Greg Stan. No one calls the police and then hides like Greg Stan.
He's especially good at wearing a bulletproof vest backwards. Toby, do you know about that?
What?
This guy, he turned up to court, or something. Was it Jacob? He turned up to like court wearing a bulletproof vest backwards because he's afraid someone's going to shoot him in the back.
Oh.
Because he's a horrible person.
It may well be that he's just too moronic to know that was backwards.
That is a possibility.
He's moronic because if anyone shoots him, it's going to be in the face.
Or the crotch.
Okay. Literally everyone in the class, aside from Chris, raised their hand. The president looked directly at me and said,
Sorry, I've lost my... James Patrick. The boy who nearly saved the day. But did not. What is your question?
Why would anyone even fucking know that or care?
Why would the president know that?
I replied,
You know, he's the fucking president. Why is he even here?
I don't know.
Daniel, I don't know how to say this name. It looks like
Bull
I
Rice?
was gonna say, yeah, literally I was gonna say that. Says, you guys know that Greg changed his name to James, so basically he is the book character now. Fucking sad times. No one's gonna call him James. It's just not gonna happen. James Jackson.
So who is James Patrick?
What is your question? I replied. Yeah. You, I can't remember the voice now. You know who I am?
He responded.
I've read up on the school and the recent events quite a bit. How are your feet healing up? Well, to this day, Mr. President, they ache and are sore.
I was overwhelmed, but I had to keep it together, so I quickly replied.
I'm trying to find it now. Yeah.
He shits himself
Really?
like he does on the bus.
Well, really well, actually. The ambulance guys did an amazing job. The best. Getting the glass and dirt out.
It's weird because it sounds more like, it started off like... James's voice has started off sort of like Vincent Price, and now it just sounds like Obama talking to Trump.
Yeah, pretty much.
President
If it wasn't for crooked Hillary shooting up the school...
Seth and all of his farmer friends, everyone who supported him, deserves to be, frankly, shot. Con Man Epicness says, when I was in debt, I wrote off all my land every tax season to stay afloat. Now that I'm caught, I'm facing tax fraud, and I'm still blaming H&R Block. Taxation is theft, my good man. If you can get away with it, never pay a penny in your taxes. If you can get away with it.
Which you probably can't.
The guys of the ambulance.
They did a great job of getting the glass and dirt out.
Yeah. Yeah, the president followed with,
That's wonderful to hear. What was your question?
I replied.
I just wanted to know how you feel about the things people call you in the news and around the world.
Well, it's fine as long as they have at least 5 other black friends.
So the president gave a sad smile and replied, also sad smile.
Jake Mel, thank you for the super stickers. I cannot, and do not wish to control what people say about me. All I can really fully control is what I myself am saying and doing. I find myself repeatedly stating that I came into office with the best intentions, and after that, ordered a bunch of bombings on Syrian children. And I continue to lead as president with those very same intentions. Some decisions I have made aren't always fair to me, my family, or many people around the world. But sometimes your only options lie between the end of a slipknot or the blade of a guillotine. And that's the burden I choose to carry. What a piece of cowabunga shit.
President live Chris Balls of the United States.
It's like, oh, that guy's such a bore. Oh, I wouldn't use that term. It's like, well, ever since President Bores, it's just like the name has taken on
But, like, you know, like, at least with this president, you know he gets up to weird deviant sex stuff, but it's usually on him instead of someone else. The first minister of butt sex, Barney Rubble. These are my first husbands, Barney Rubble and Fred Flintstone. So
we're going to implement
this alternative universe where Chris Bores for some reason was elected president and has 2 gay cartoon husbands.
Now, one of the big things we're going to do is we're going to add a Ghostbusters to 911. If your house is suffering with spooks, poltergeists, or hauntings, pick up the phone, call 911 and ask for Ghostbusters.
Millions of Americans,
But not the
today
female
struggle
ones.
with ghosts.
Ladies, your day in the sun is over.
Move on.
How many times have you been doing that Chris Bores impression there, Jacob?
I did.
Not enough.
Basically not enough. Anyway, back to the story.
Okay. So the class paused for a few seconds, and then all at once, everyone but Chris and myself raised their hands again. One of the USSS members spoke up. Mr. President, we need to move on. The president lifted his hand and said to the class,
I want you all to know that there are going to be some major changes around your school. I've approved a budget shift that will help fund significant renovations and an effective security program that will promote a safer environment for everyone here. I will not stand by and do nothing while these incidents occur. So I'm doing what any responsible person in my position would do, and that is turn my romance novel into some kind of weird gun control propaganda. And make you feel safer in this learning environment. What the hell?
You know, like, we've made this
Baracko Bores.
like, you know, we've made this, like, story and there's, like, absurd things in it, like Rocket Fist Rick and, like, you know, the Elder Gods. But the most unrealistic thing in this entire novel is that this school's had a shooting and someone's trying to do something about it.
Yeah, that's it. We said that earlier, didn't we? In an earlier chapter, it was like, why do people give this much of a shit? It's like the school shooting is in, like, I don't know, France.
Look,
hang on 2 seconds.
Eating pizza, it's the greatest. Ba-da-bum. That's my new song.
Okay, where the fuck were we? Okay. He smiled as USSSSSS opened the door behind him.
the USSR.
hmm
Thank you all. And Chris, remember our talk, okay?
Chris remained speechless as the president walked out. You know, the president's everywhere, really. I mean, you know, he's in this story, he's in Sonic Adventure 2. I mean, it's amazing. That guy gets everywhere.
Fuck, I hate Sonic Adventure 2 so much.
So it's horrible, isn't it?
The only good thing you can say about Sonic Adventure 2 is there's no fishing in it.
Yeah. I'm gonna stream it soon. Like it just, I need to like. I've got certain Sonic Adventure 2 demons that need exercising.
It's gonna be very
All right,
fun.
people in the chat, pay enough to get Jacob to 100% complete all of Shadow the Hedgehog. Do it.
No, I'm not 100%ing it. No, fuck off.
That means you have to play it through like 3 or 4 times.
I did my fucking time with Shadow the Hedgehog. I did like 3 streams on that. I'm done.
Did you?
I'm
Oh
also
man,
done.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
he did for like one of them. Like one of them was like, "I'm never doing this again," because I remember I was with the second one, and then for some reason you made Tom do it for like the third one.
Tom was round and we were drinking and we were like, we should do something like stupid and fun. And I think he had the idea of playing like some bad video, and I was like, well, I've got Shadow the Hedgehog, and then the desire to stream kind of came from that.
I love that how our copy is completely fucked as well.
Yeah, it's
Like
like
the
bat. It
cover.
looks like someone's dog tried to chew it up.
Yeah, or someone poured wine on it.
You know,
You'd have to be drunk to get through it, so that makes sense.
You know, you hear stories about like dogs saving, you know, people's lives, like they can like sniff out cancer and just other just random crap. This dog apparently knew the dangers of Sonic, of Shadow the Hedgehog, and chewed on it and threw it out a window, and that's where you found it. You just like walked along the road and goes, "What's this?"
Why Barry Burton?
Kobe, I just realised if Rocket Fist Rick has a 1930s guy voice, what kind of rocket is his fist? I don't know.
The ancient Babylonian kind.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Hansen then stood up while looking at Chris as if he had just slapped Mr. Hansen's mother right in front of them.
With his dick.
Maintained his glare as he walked to the front of the class. Mr. Hansen sighed a deep sigh. Sighed deeply and looking down on the floor. Then he asked,
Play it, coward.
Did anyone else almost pass out?
The class erupted with laughter as the teacher wiped sweat from his forehead.
The school sense of humour was awful.
Yeah. As he used as a whiteboard or whatever. How old are these children?
Like 7.
Great.
Rudy Jazz simply says, "Play it, coward." Yeah, you know what, guys? Since
What?
you know, I'm just going to get me to fucking play the entirety of Shadow the Hedgehog, $100. All right. Otherwise, no. Fuck off.
Well, collectively, because I think they're getting, because you got quite a few donations tonight.
No.
If it goes into one like
No,
bucket fund
not collectively. And $100 after YouTube takes their cut.
Good luck with that then.
It's like $130. No, you know, you'd have to be mad.
Jacob, just a quick question. Like, does that only people in the super chat, or could I just post you something?
Matt, like, if you were like damn foolish enough with your money to just do that, I would play Sonic. Shadow the Hedgehog, because I've just made a promise that I would. But that would be foolish.
It's to completion.
Yeah.
You do realize I'm not playing it with you, right?
That's fine. This is my mess that I've done. It's my hole that I've just dug.
I will watch you in laugh.
I am very tempted, and I have a bunch of cash I got from my last day of work that I have nothing to use on.
You've put your foot in it now, Cole.
Use the appropriate president voice for the time. I was going for a kind of Obama voice, but it just kind of turned into Chris Bores. I used to, back when Obama was actually in office, I used to do a pretty decent impression of him because I was doing the impression fairly often.
Well,
Whereas
Obama
now I
was
don't
president.
really think of, these days I don't really think of what Obama sounds like.
Obama was president when he wrote this. It was 2015 when he wrote this.
I think the way you suggested that, it sounded like Obama wrote this story.
Use my pen.
Oh, fuck you! $100, I am mad. Alright, Rudy. I'm doing Shadow the Hedgehog.
Tune in.
You've done it now.
And thanks for saving me some cash.
Okay, lads, right. I'm gonna do Shadow the Hedgehog and I'm gonna do the entire thing, okay? That's my promise to you.
If you want Jacob to play any other terrible games to completion,
Matt,
no matter how
send
hard
Matt
terrible...
some money.
Send him Busby 3D.
Busby. Don't underestimate someone who has nowhere to fucking go. We all have nowhere to go. It's called quarantine. Let's get back to the story.
Like protesting and spreading it around.
I know it's
Have you listened to the interviews of those people? They clearly didn't know what the hell was going on.
Careful that Swiss money. You never know where it's been. We appreciate your sacrifice, Rudy. Toby, do you want to jump back in?
Yeah, where were we?
I thought you'd gone to go get pizza or something. Toby's like, look at this, I'm going to get some to eat.
I got it. The towel smeared ink all over his forehead, which made us laugh harder. Unfortunately, I was faced with the reality that he would blame his humiliation on me if I did not tell him right away, as my next period still required as I act as a teacher's assistant for him.
Why would he blame you?
I don't know. First thing Abby said to me when I met her with her later that day in the gym class was,
So, it looks like Mrs. Stanley's getting a new desk.
I replied.
Cool.
Sorry, I was very excited about opening up some chips. The president?
Yep. He met with you guys too.
I nodded and she added,
In other news, Jason has been hitting on me. Not sure what to do about it.
I replied.
Tell him no?
Like, just flirting, or is it heavy?
She answered.
I think the whole saving our lives thing went to his head. He just grabbed my butt in class after the president left the room.
I went silent. Trying to reassure me, she said.
I yelled at him not to do it again.
I replied.
Did you talk to the teacher? Like, god damn, fucking simp. Just, did you talk to the Are you 11 years old? Did you talk to the teacher? Go kick his ass.
Go get your ass kicked.
Actually, yeah, go get beat up again.
So yeah, go get your arse grabbed by him.
Jacob, you sound really indignant at this thing, but which is a normal response, but you forget who it is. You should be like, yes, immediately hand over your woman to the alpha male, you little simp beta.
I'm the alpha now.
Just look at me. I'm the alpha now.
I'm surprised the conversation wasn't along the lines, well, he started having sex with me in class and his dick was so much bigger than yours. But, you know, I still appreciate you for your tiny carrot dick.
It wouldn't surprise me if Onision was into, like, cucking. It's just like, that mastodon of a man, Jason, just started reaming my woman, and all I could do was masturbate.
Bye, Rudy. Thank you very much for that.
For inflicting Shadow the Hedgehog on that house. I believe it's some sort of like, it may in fact be some sort of gypsy curse, a pox on your house.
I'm gonna have to end up playing it with you, aren't I?
Yeah, you've just said you won't, but we all know you will, because what else you
like Gemma, where are you going to go in that house? It's tiny.
What are you gonna do, go to the pub? Like, they're all closed.
I can go drink on the bench outside.
Yeah, we all know what'll happen. Just like the last person that went out and sat on that bench and got drunk, they got set on fire, so that'll happen to you.
I'd rather get set on fire than play Shadow the Hedgehog.
Because that's the real threat here, Crohn's disease.
I know, because I set him on fire.
I
was bored, it's quarantine.
I was like, Mrs. Stanley saw I was
Crohn's
uncomfortable.
19, it's combined.
Mrs. Stanley saw I was uncomfortable and she said she would give him detention if he tried to do it again.
Onision, you fool! Tell Abby to go to report the issue to Rocket Fist Rick, says Phantom Glide.
Yes, sir. You shouldn't disrespect a woman like that. I'll give you what for. Hi ho pow!
I've got one of these for you, Sonny.
Sonny Jim.
I've got a right and a left. These two ladies here will be your teachers. My mitts. I call them Gladys and Mary.
I love that she did everything I would have done. Everything that she would have. I can't even read that. Hang on.
Jacob, do you want to take over for Toby? He's clearly drunk.
Toby's just
I'm
having
not
some
drunk.
kind of mini stroke.
No, I've just lost where the fuck I
Just
am.
like, oh, fucking Shadow the Hedgehog. God damn.
That was-
Some English bloke says, I find it perplexing that despite managing to get a girlfriend, this guy is still the simpiest motherfucker ever. It's amazing, isn't it? Like, this guy... And again, I must remind you, James is Onision's best version of himself. This is the guy Greg wishes he was.
I mean, that's why
A simp.
I mean, that's why I made Ambi sound like a child.
Yeah, to be fair, we've already said that the best version of Greg is one that can date high school girls without it being weird.
I know we've been retreading old jokes, which was the best thing about high school girls. I get over, they stay the same.
It's like,
Yes,
I get older, they stay the same age.
All right.
Okay, someone in the chat confirmed that Greg is actually into cucking. I'm like, not surprised one bit. Look at that stallion with my woman.
Are you subscribed to his OnlyFans, Mr. Shades?
It's just
Well,
the
yeah,
whole.
I just-
It's like you expect it to be like Onision's nudes, but it's just him filming his girlfriend getting fucked from the inside of a cupboard.
Well, do you want to know what his OnlyFans is full of, according to like Twitter? It's him doing the porn animation of himself, and just like opening up his legs with his dick out, like woo. It's like that.
So how up your own arse do you have to be to do a porn animation of yourself? Like, that's beyond, really, isn't it?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Because he doesn't want to show his face on the internet anymore, and I'm like, your face is all over the internet. You were
like,
too late.
I don't want to show my face on the internet. My cock and balls, on the other hand.
Yeah, we Toby. I don't know. Literally, he's all over. Was it the first? Was it the first or second one we did? This was literally just like a image that Shadman drew of Onision creeping on what's her face in the lift.
Elisa
Elisa
Lamb,
Lam.
yeah. Some English bloke
Yeah.
says, I suppose James is the version of himself that Onision aspires to be the most. In a few months' time, James probably won't be getting bummed in prison. You see, this version of Onision stops crimes happening at schools. Whereas,
Well, no, he's near someone who stops them.
I mean, the real Onision's near people who stop them. The police stopping him.
Yeah.
calling the police and then going, it's Chris Hansen.
It's like, who is the man who's stalking you? It's Chris Hansen. You mean from To Catch a Predator? Yes.
For no reason.
It was but they subpoenaed him, but it was the wrong Chris Hansen.
Oh my god, this is just wonderful. Like, I can't get enough of that.
I love that she did everything I would have done, leaving no room for me to imagine potential alternatives to what she felt about Jason's chauvinistic act. I smiled slightly and said,
I lost where I was. Oh yeah. Well, thank you
Those were
for
his exact words.
thank you for telling me.
she interrupted.
What about you? Any girls grabbing your butt these days?
Jason, grab your ass. Jason's gonna claim both of them. He's gonna put James in a little dress.
Oh, Onision
You're my woman
can't wait
now.
till that
You're
big
my woman
bull
now,
Jason
James.
comes stomping
Peter
around.
and Phil.
I replied with a slight smile.
Nope. Guess my butt just isn't as good looking as yours.
She squealed and hugged me as the substitute walked in and blew his whistle.
I'm not squealing.
Right, shall we swap? Toby, do you want to be the teacher, and I'll start narrating again.
So I'll do Mrs. Stanley as McGonagall again.
Yeah, Toby, stop doing that to the mic. It keeps blowing it out.
I know.
Stop it. I will go around your house and punch and sneeze on you.
What you gonna do about it, Matt?
I will go around your house and sneeze on you.
Phantom Blind. Abby, any girls grabbing your butt these days? Greg, have you heard of CBT? Uncle Palpy. In Onision's defense, if it was anybody else's ideal version of him, we'd have an abandoned, rotten, bloated corpse in an iron ditch for a protagonist.
It's just every single character in the book just coming around to the corpse and just pissing on it the entire book.
Alright, so Toby, you be the teacher, I guess.
Alright, everyone. Let's play some fucking badminton.
It's just Danny Dyer.
Play some...
I imagine, to be fair, I think like Danny Dyer's acting career, I imagine him teaching gym in 20 years.
20? Like, have you seen the state of Phil? Like, you know, like, he should be trying to find a job at a gym as teaching schools now.
The sub said, pronouncing everything as it was spelled. Raymond responded. I can't remember Raymond's voice.
No, we just made jokes about him being Ray Man, so he said some like lums or something.
Hey, don't you mean badminton?
The teacher replied,
I didn't. Rayman, is that alright with you? Is that okay with you? He actually made a joke himself. So therefore...
Now angered, he responded,
It's Raymond.
The sub laughed and said,
French. Alright, everyone. Do you want to see Rayman versus your sub in a badminton?
A lot of us screamed, yeah!
Yeah!
And there was much rejoicing. And so, isn't it? It is badminton, though, isn't it?
Badminton.
Wait, what way did he pronounce
So,
it?
all right, everyone, let's play some badminton. The sub said, pronouncing everything as it was spelled. Raymond responded, don't you mean badminton? I'm sure it is pronounced badminton.
I think
I've been calling it badminton my entire life.
I think it's American.
Is this an American thing? Can I ask some English people then in the chat? Am I such a fucking pleb? I've been calling it the wrong name my entire life.
I was on the badminton team.
Yeah, but to be fair, that's in Scotland. I'm amazed they didn't just call it stickball.
And I also called it badminton, but you're still asking people in the chat because you know that you're like, oh, my English.
Wow.
We called it.
Just to clarify, that wasn't me speaking just now. That was Toby. I gotta say, it was a really good impression. Badminton is the correct pronunciation. Yeah. So why was it a thing?
Is it like the Americans saying mirror?
Yeah, but I mean mirror. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's play badminton. Don't you mean badminton? Wrong.
The wrong thoughts.
Raymond seemed to get hit with the birdie more than the actual racket did.
You mean the shuttlecock?
Cock. We kept laughing because he was trying so hard to look cool, but kept failing repeatedly. Well, yeah, he was playing badminton. You can't look cool playing badminton.
You really can't.
And as a result, looked completely goofy. After the teacher had scored on him for the 10th time, Raymond threw down his racket. The teacher loudly asked,
So is that a game? I want badminton.
Trying to sound tough, Raymond screamed,
This is a sissy game anyway.
This is sissy game anyway. Someone watching yelled to everyone, Uh-oh, watch out, he might try to shoot us too.
Just because he's...
Dude, what the
soon.
I know!
Like, what school is this? And just like, hey, remember when all those people died and, you know, we all nearly died?
I remember it like it was yesterday, because it was.
Raymond was in the corner, shitting everywhere.
Shitting in a field.
We all went silent. One girl jumped up and walked off in a hurry. I could see she was holding her cries in until she could get out of the room. Raymond angrily looked over at that person who made the comment. The individual who yelled put their head down. They were obviously trying to avoid being pierced by Raymond's glare. Raymond then furiously walked off, throwing a tantrum by kicking a garbage can while pulling off his shirt as he passed through the boys'
himself.
locker room entrance.
Because that's what Raymond
Shitting
does.
his nappy.
Alright, everyone. Pick a partner and start playing.
the teacher said just before following Raymond into the locker room.
Who?
Naturally, Abby was on my team, and we played against a couple of people who were equally unenthusiastic about the sport. So we basically just, I'm so glad this has been included in the story.
Yeah.
We basically just stood around talking about how dorky our uniforms were and how basically anything we could to keep our minds preoccupied.
Oh, brilliant.
But how dorky is your like? I don't know about most places. Is it like just like a shirt and shorts? Like was there one like a clown outfit or something? They're all dressed as mimes. What?
Well, Onision's always dressed like a clown.
Later that night at dinner, we had began to put together a makeshift chair for Rick. But it was a throne. We began to put it together, a chair for Rick. We assembled the swords of his fallen enemies.
We got the dragon, Thatcher, to melt the throne of blades.
Abby was still staying with us. My mum began to talk about their move.
So Rick let me know he's happy to help cover your food on utilities, etc. while you're staying here in the condo.
She said. Abby and I looked at each other happily and hugged excitedly that it was confirmed. Abby and I didn't have to move anywhere. My mum continued.
Yes, you know what Rick does to make money? He just goes down the coal mine, picks up a bit of coal, and just squeezes it for 5 seconds. Diamond.
Coal mine, Matt. You have a coal mine obsession.
Nishimo Sato says, I'm glad all 4 of you are here. Can Toby do a nice bruh into the mic to sum up how bad this story is? Also, what's your favourite JoJo part, Matt?
Bruh.
Part 4.
Right, where were we?
So Mum getting...
Your sister's going to come with us.
Yes.
Yeah, Mum continued.
Your sister's gonna come with us.
I looked at my sister and asked, What's up, sis? She just pushed food around her plate and mumbled,
It's whatever, I don't want to talk about it.
My mum gave me a look that I should just drop it. So I did. Lloyd Grossman sources. Abby squeezed my hand. She was still smiling widely at me. I was pretty overwhelmed with what all this meant as well. One of the greatest pending burdens hovering over my head had been removed from my life completely. However ridiculous it sounds, knowing I could be separated from Abby to me was the equivalent of a doctor telling me I might have cancer, only to reveal later that it was nothing. I felt like I was getting my life back.
Was the Dr. Cuckoo raving?
Without ever really having
I'm sorry,
it taken
Mitch,
away.
it's cancer.
In the first
Oh,
place.
wait, it was just my thumb.
Phantom Glide says Greg has the advantage when playing ball sports. He never takes his roller skates off. After dinner, Abby and I cuddled in bed while listening to some of her favourite bands. She would sing along to the songs, knowing most of the words, as I just kept my eyes closed, paying close attention to how her skin felt pressed against mine. Soon.
The bus go round and round.
Soon I will cut off that skin and make a suit, and I will become Abbigale. The most beautiful woman in the entire galaxy. Unlimited power. It's like when Greg hops around states to have sex with girls, fuck, I fucked up the joke. Basically, it was about changing consent laws and him shouting unlimited power in Palpatine's voice. But I fucked the joke up. I Rich Evans'd it really badly.
Folding table.
In that room, alone with her, I often found myself feeling like nothing else mattered. She gave all my senses something to devour, to the point where I began to feel like the rest of the world barely existed at all. Now that's just Abby devouring the rest of the world until it barely exists at all.
Yeah.
I am Absathoth.
Eater of
Devour
worlds.
reality.
I fell asleep listening to the sound of her beautiful voice, softly singing.
Bye.
Baba, black sheep, have you any wool?
Clearly she's singing all the Arctic Monkeys' greatest hits.
I bet that you look good on the dance floor.
It's like, oh, give me a kestrel, flat cap. Who the fuck listens to music that sounds like this? We won a Mercury Prize for some reason.
The Olympics, apparently a couple, was it things ago?
Don't bring up the Olympics, you'll fucking crash the space-time continuum again.
Mind the gap.
What happened when you last brought up the Olympics, Matt?
No, it wasn't that. Oh, yeah. No, that was New Year's.
All the boys are slag.
Right, so is that chapter 10 done?
Yeah.
Yeah, chapter 10.
All right, so we're going to do our usual 15-minute break.
Yeah, we'll talk some shit, and then we'll see how long chapter 11 is first, right?
It's like
It's not. It's about the same length. So yeah, we'll give our thoughts on chapter 10. Toby, obviously you missed like chapters 1 through 9. As you can tell, you didn't miss much. How do you feel about the writing?
oh no.
Space time is safe, since Gemma hasn't been shortening words today.
I know, this is like, how do you feel about the writing? And Toby just quietly says no.
Toby, if you're here for the entire, it's written like a not poorly spelt, but just usual sort of level of a creepypasta. You're just waiting for the murder to, like, before the school shooting. We're like, this comes across as like some sort of creepy stalker, like creepypasta. Like Jacob said, it's like Thomas. He was spot on. It's really like Thomas, just without him going nuts and murdering people thing.
I see. Yeah, it's just bad so far. Can't wait to listen to some more. Oh wait, yes I can.
Aren't you glad you decided to join in? Like you've managed to go 6 without joining in on this, and then
I think the most compelling thing about the writing is the twist that James isn't the school shooter. Because yeah, it is written at the beginning of the story, like the way he goes on about how much he hates his classmates and how lonely he is and stuff. Like it really feels like it's going to be written from the perspective of the school shooter.
He comes across as like a really fucking edgy, broody anime character. It's like, I like to analyze people, to stare at them and figure them out. I don't see them as people, just more as puzzles. And it's like
you've scanned someone like the fucking Terminator before.
But yeah, this is who Greg wishes he was, and you think this guy's a scumbag.
How's his real name is Greg?
Of you. Oh yeah, Gregory House. Yeah, he's just like, I see people as puzzles. I want to analyze them. Uncle Palpy, Abzathoth, and the Necrononsica.
All right, we need to. Can we like somehow bookmark that or make a shirt or something?
You always
At least
The
Matt, you make the
Necrononsica.
shirt.
No, you make the shirt. You got nothing better to do.
What? You ain't got nothing better to do at the minute. You make a shirt.
I've been doing lots of important stuff.
Like?
I've been playing Doom Eternal.
Oh, I'll give you that. That's important. How is it, by the way, in comparison?
Yeah, it's fun. Shoot a demon with a shotgun.
A bold new direction for the series.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
You kill the demons. You rip and tear until it's done.
Ah.
I'm just calling up the chat so I can actually have a look at it properly. But yeah, how's everybody doing tonight, by the way, before we jump back into the story? Is everybody having a good time?
I am having a swell time if that question was not directed at me, but still.
That's good.
I'm just happy to talk to my friends.
Yay!
Yeah, that's pretty much like this is. Let's be honest, this is an excuse, isn't it? Like it's just like it's like we've got to somehow make all our schedules line up so we can spend some time together. We can't leave the house, so
this is the next best thing, apparently.
it's like, oh yeah, remember in the before times we had a show on something called YouTube.
Before it was at the event.
Ooh,
Matt, do not think about the event.
Is it like the game?
Oh shit! I just thought of the Rasmus.
Ah shit! I just thought, blast! I just recalled the moon.
The moon? Oh, what's that? What's that common concept?
Because I haven't gone outside to
It's
see
not a
it.
concept. It's an object.
Really? What do you
Yeah,
mean?
it's not.
Wait,
the
hold
moon's
up,
not-
Matt. You believe in the moon?
Oh yeah, like, I remember asking you, looked up, were you for or against it, Jacob?
The moon. Are you for or against it?
Well, it's a hard debate, really. I mean, I would say I'd be for the moon, but the moon doesn't actually exist, so I'll be all for it if it actually happened.
It's just the giant slowly opening his eyes. The giant who holds up the world on the flat disc that it's on.
Atlas.
I remember, Matt, you and I had this conversation a while ago. It was like, what you should do when talking to a conspiracy theorist is always raise them one extra level of crazy. So they're going on about how they faked the moon landing, and you just interrupt with, oh, hold on. You think there's a moon?
Oh, that reminds me just like
It's like, oh, I'm not sure we've even been to space. I'm like, space? You think space is a thing? Do you know what I mean? Just like fuck with them.
giant curtain, you fool.
Like everybody knows
darkness.
It's like everybody
over the sun.
Everybody knows NASA's run by literal demons.
So all we know that's in the sky is just the color beige.
Yeah. Just fuck with people.
Like, have you ever seen The Truman Show, or as it's known, Reality?
What's known in real life, the reality show.
We really need to watch that movie Mandela Effect.
Yes, we do. We need to host that on movie night. By the way, guys in the chat, if you're in our Discord server, if you're not in our Discord server, you should join because we do a bad movie night. We don't have a set schedule, especially when people are free. We do a bad movie night where we basically will stream an appallingly bad movie on through Google Drive and just riff on it, make fun of it. It's like Mystery Science Theater, and it's a lot of fun. So definitely come along for that.
So what's this Mandela effect?
So they made a movie, but you know the Nelson Mandela effect, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Nelson Mandela is not dead. Oh, he died in the 80s.
It's about him and his controlling beans. He's been Magneto.
yeah.
Yes.
Would you take a seat? Rather not.
I love that so much. Just the Magneto who controls baked beans, making the chairs. Come on in, Senator. Have a seat. I think I'll stand. But yeah, the Mandela effect was that. Basically, it's the whole idea of like, am I remembering this incorrectly? No, it's the universe that is wrong. I've travelled to another universe where they've taken the dash out of Kit Kat. Like, no, you fucking simpleton. You just don't remember it properly.
Mr. Moneybags never had a monocle.
Yeah. Am I remembering it wrong? Is it because of the human faulty memory? No, I've just been D4C'd into another universe. Clearly, that's the sensible thing.
Clearly, there's a glitch in the Matrix, Matt.
Why are you speaking like Greg all of a sudden? Clearly, Matt, there is a glitch in the Matrix, and I knew who was responsible. China. But yeah, there's a movie about it. There's a movie, and literally there's a part in the movie where they're like, Mr. The Monopoly Man never had a monocle. It's like, are you fucking for real? This is a movie. This is an actual movie.
It's like, really? It's not the Berenstain Bears, it's the Berenstain Bears.
There's there's so many of these Mandela effect things. People are like, in The Empire Strikes Back, when he says, Luke, I am your father, but he didn't. I'm like, yeah, you're just remembering it incorrectly. Like,
Yeah,
but lots of people remembered it incorrectly. I'm like, yes.
Because it was
Yes,
said
they
wrong.
did.
Because it was said
That's
wrong.
not a fact of dimensional fuckery. That's just trivia that people have gotten wrong. It's like they've never said "Beam me up, Scotty" in the actual Star Trek show.
Yeah, but it's just a thing people, are familiar with. It's as you say, it's iconography. It's separate from the actual movie.
Is that like, we're going to need a
Yeah,
bigger
I was
boat?
literally about to say that one. We're going to need a bigger boat. It was actually you're going to need a bigger boat. But he would never say "were." It's not his boat. It's Quint's boat. Like, of course he's saying "your." But again, it's just people remembering things incorrectly.
Yeah, it's just a slight tweet. You're like, oh, hey, here's like a famous catchphrase. I just remember it a bit wrong or something like that. And they just caught on. And no, you're like clearly dimensional fuckery.
So, guys, that's what you should take from this incredibly, this groundbreaking theory we proposed, is that the Mandela effect is bullshit and that people just remember things wrong sometimes.
Like,
Yeah,
remember when we
the
were around
Mandela
someone's
effect
house?
itself is just like the actual Mandela effect of people remembering things a bit wrong. The dimensional, no, you're not a fucking slider.
I was gonna say, was it Jacob? Like, do you remember being around at someone's house and they got us, and they were starting telling us all about the Mandela effect, and they got so into it, like that picture of the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with all the stuff on the wall. They were like that, and it was just like we're like, Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, like, there was I started just joining in because that's what I do with conspiracy theorists. I just joined in. I was like, yeah, well, dig this, and I just started just going off on like one.
Yeah,
No,
it's
just,
brilliant.
Because I'm always going on about
Ruin
like
his-
how like
making
there's
paranoid ruin his
how
life.
like the royal family are aliens and stuff like that. 'Cause it's just fun to fuck with people.
Lizard.
Yeah, but it's obviously bullshit. But it's just fun.
Like, have you ever noticed, like, when I was a kid, like the Kit Kat packets, Kit Kats were blue, and now they're red, and no one says anything. Just like, fuck, just start bringing shit up. Just make shit up and I wonder if they twig on.
It's my favourite comment in the chat at the moment. The real Mandela effect is being set on fire and then having your killer celebrated by the masses.
I did have this like funny thought the other day because obviously there's like a limited edition like thing that's going on just now because like obviously how Starburst used to be called Opal Fruits, right?
Yeah.
And it's been Starburst for years and they've started releasing them as Opal Fruits again and I was just like thinking.
Have I warped into another dimension where they never changed them to Starburst?
Yeah.
Hey, but Jacob, it's totally, what was it? Sex and the City, isn't it? Or not Sex in the City?
It's Sex
Maybe
and the
we'll-
City,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's another one because people are like, oh man, it used to be called Sex in the City. No, it never was. I'm not even a fan of that show, and I remember that it's always been called Sex and the City. In fact, I remember there's a moment on Peep Show where Mark's trying to break into Sophie's computer. He's like, what's her favourite show? Sex and the City. And he types in the initials and it doesn't work with the password. Like, well, maybe she thinks it's Sex in the City. It's like, yeah, because that's not the title. Never has been.
Yeah.
It's just people like, yeah, remember things incorrectly. I think the Mandela effect as a concept, the whole idea is it rests on arrogance. It rests on the inability to accept that you're just wrong about something.
Oh wait, no, I do remember when the BBC News wasn't fiction.
No, you don't, Gemma. Again, that never was. That's the Mandela effect. But yeah, it's people unwilling to accept that they're wrong, and it's okay to be wrong. Like it really doesn't matter. It's okay to remember something incorrectly. There's probably loads of movies. I have like really traumatic like movie and TV moments I shouldn't have seen as a kid that probably aren't anything like what those movies and TV shows were actually like. But your brain muddles it up.
Yeah, it's funny because it turns out that the human brain isn't a perfect machine that will capture every, some people get, but like the chances of you remembering everything perfectly, funnily enough,
Hello. Like, I'm bad.
you don't have an organic camera for a brain. Who fucking knew?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. I was going to say something and it's gone. That must have
Well,
been
you
Mandela
better
effect.
travel over to the other dimension and find the one where you did say it or whatever.
Yeah.
So this story sucks.
Well, of course.
Oh Christ.
So should we just get on with it?
Yeah.
Right. I think we should.
Let's not say we did.
I think is there more happen afterwards? Is we can finish this story and go away and then enjoy the rest of our evening.
Wait a minute. I remember a dimension where this story never existed. Let's go over to that one.
Okay, that's actually a conspiracy I want to believe in.
Yeah.
I really want to believe. There's although I'm gonna Mandela effect the entire stream chat next time. Everyone's gonna be like, "Hey, do you remember when Rudy Jets paid Jacob $100 to play Shadow the Hedgehog?" And I'll be like, "No, that never happened. You guys are all just remembering wrong." Miss Robertson, essentially the best therapist our tiny school budget could offer, had called me in her office, just as she had many students before me, to get an update on how we were doing with all things considered. She agreed. I cannot write. She greeted me in her usual way, slightly awkward and attempting to seem sincere. I suppose it was hard, giving it her
Threw
all,
condoms at him.
when she and many of her co-workers had been underappreciated and underpaid by her employers from day one.
Are you still with Abby?
She firmly asked out of nowhere. I replied, yes. She said,
I'll be talking to her later today. How are things between you both?
I thought
Raider,
Robertson was
No,
McGonagall.
Mrs. Stanley is.
Okay.
I had to think about it.
I answered again. Good. A lot of good things are happening. Miss Robertson looked skeptical and changed the subject.
So you ran through the school barefoot during the shooting?
Yeah, well, at first I was wearing roller skates. That's really in the story. So that's why I ran barefoot.
Then I thought, hey, I want to be like John McClane and then steps on some broken glass. I went out of my way to do it. I'm really stupid.
I was looking for Abby. Again, Miss Robertson gave me a look of frustration and disbelief, picking up on her consistent negative physical body language, and as opposed to her mental body language and verbal tone. I asked, "Is there something you're not telling me, Miss Robertson?"
Are you hitting on me, Mrs. Robinson?
She replied,
I can't really tell you anything, not legally. As far as I know, I just hope you take my original advice. Be careful, think twice about what you're doing, that's all I can say.
It's just like, the teacher's just Michael Jackson, just like, take my advice. Remember to always think twice. Riker says, let's roast people alive and get a Peace Prize. Nelson Mandela, 1988. Phantom Klein, DC Infinite Crisis 2020. Jacob Sherwood becomes God and molds the multi-universe into one perfect universe where Stonester Abbigale does not exist. It's like half the universe destroyed, a small price to pay for salvation.
So that's what
I looked down at the floor, trying to figure out what she was talking about.
So you're not at all depressed?
She asked. I replied, no, not that I know of. Then she asked,
Not that you know of.
I replied, no, I'm not depressed. I'm so glad this conversation's in the story. She nodded and said,
Well, that's, of course, good.
Miss Robertson walked over to her window. Gemma, you sound like... You remember in Thailand when Jeliza Rose has the little doll heads and they've all got different voices? And there's one, I think it's Mystique.
Yes,
which
that's
is the one
exactly
with,
what I was
yeah,
thinking.
The one with, that's what you sound like. You
I
sound like
decided-
a little American girl doing an English voice.
I thought I'd do that as something because it said awkward, so I was like, yeah, I'll think of something.
Sure, and it's not you just doing your best American accent, your best English accent, okay.
I can do an English accent, you've heard it before.
Okay, Gemma, whatever.
Do your English accent then.
I need to get into
Just
it.
like, can't, no, you have put me on the spot and I can't do that now.
Okay, then try and do a Scottish accent.
Just talk through your teeth. I did that one time. Where the fuck are we? Miss Robertson walked over to her window, overlooking the football field out back. She mumbled something in a low tone I couldn't make out, and then said loudly.
You can send the next person in, James.
I'm sorry, Gemma, it says loudly.
You can send the next person in, James!
Right, Gemma, you can wake up the neighbours. Fucking hell. I was surprised by how cold Mrs. Robertson was acting towards me, but was happy to leave.
Because she doesn't like you.
Later in gym class...
Well, like, also, talk about, like, I know you got to go through entire school with these people, but it's like, so, are you going out with a girl? Yes. Are you enjoying it? Yes. Do you feel depressed? No. Okay, clean bill of health, off you go.
So, just like NHS level therapy. Just like, are you having any negative thoughts? No. All right. See you next week.
Yeah.
House of Rage could be worse. You could be reading the third book where Onision kills God and then creates a double of himself so he can tag team Abby.
Yeah, that does happen.
What, even the tag teaming?
Yes. And then there's his next one is This Is Why I Hate You, and it's basically the whole book is I'm So Death Machine.
If you want Jacob to read all of that on his own...
Fuck off! Fuck off!
I'll read it with you.
Later in gym
No
class.
breaks, him in a room on his own. He's going to be doing the audio.
The only other person in the room will be Matt, who'll be periodically emptying beehives on my head. Just donate $5.
Yeah, Toby, like in like the first, I think it was like the third one, we just kept making jokes about how this is the audio book for Stones to Abbigale with everything left in.
At least if Audible actually released this, just us calling him a
Audible to get it
nonce
done.
just throughout the entire thing.
Audible hired us, and they're like, whatever, like we don't really care. Whenever it's done, it's done.
Read this because it's awful. Like, we don't care. We're not going to prove. Listen, just do it. You know, we'll be surprised if anyone actually listens to it because it's a pile of shit. So that's your motivation. Go. Okay, Mr.
Late-
Amazon man.
Later in gym class, we were hoping to see Mr. Mac. He had, unfortunately, Mac had not returned, though we all knew it was unreasonable to expect such a fast recovery. Abby was wearing one of my shirts when she first got in, smiling happily before she disappeared into the locker room. When she returned, I asked her, "Did you talk to Mrs. Robertson yet?" Abby replied without hesitation,
I'm wearing one of your Predator shirts.
Yeah. Yes.
Gary Glitter.
I then asked, "What do you think of her?" She replied,
I think she's a guidance counselor. What am I supposed to think?
"Please tell me what to think, Greg. I just want to see my mom."
When you said that, Gemma, like it really just brought home like this really like mentally just it turns into like a 6-year-old, just like.
I was put off by her hesitation and by what I perceived to be an evasive response. I paid close attention to Abby's voice and movements. Her tone was abnormally higher pitched when she spoke of Mrs. Robertson. That small detail
Those were in fucking detective mode.
stood out like a skyscraper, piercing the clouds of an otherwise small town.
Purple prose.
Piercing the clouds of an otherwise small town. Okay, fuck off. To me, she seemed...
You're psychoanalyzing me again, aren't you, James?
Okay, so this is happening in real time then. I'm very confused. Yeah, so to me she seems ... and she interrupts this. She then interrupts this thought he's having later in the past tense when writing it.
Well, because she's unbound by space and
Yeah.
time, isn't she?
I was going to say, who wrote this chapter? David Lynch. Just like, "Did you leave a cup of black coffee?" No. "In the future, remember to leave a cup of black coffee. Also in the past."
Like, you don't want me to catch you.
"Run faster!"
You don't want me to catch you.
She asked, interrupting my thoughts. I replied, feeling foolish. "Yes, sorry." She then replied,
The world is full of critics. I don't want to fear judgment from you.
"We meet again, critic."
I don't
don't
want to fear
want to-
judgment from you.
That's-
I understood her wishes all too well, but I felt justified in looking further into what may have really been going on. I replied, "I was just asking about the guidance counselor. Your response might be revealing that there is in fact something I'm not yet aware of going on. Something I should probably know about."
James, stop.
She said loudly. I decided to back off. I didn't want to upset her, especially with the remaining school day pending. Having conflict looming over my head while trying to focus on class was unfortunately a nearly impossible and stress-saturated task for me, so I had to just let it go for now.
James, stop. My mom's looking for me.
My parents will pay whatever you want, James. We arrived home later that day to find no one was home. Abby and I made dinner for each other. Once we finished eating, she asked me if I wanted to sit in the bathroom while she showered. My shower curtains were thick and non-transparent, so while it would seem like a huge step in our relationship, it kind of wasn't. She started the shower water and closed the door while I cleaned the kitchen. Moments later, she yelled out,
James, I'm ready.
and closed the door again to keep the heat in the bathroom. Walking into the bathroom, I could see the curtain was fully closed. I said, "Hey, did you want to talk?" She replied,
Yeah, I'm sorry for putting up a wall earlier. That was weird of me, right?
She put up a literal wall.
"The wall just got 10 feet higher."
Oh, sorry. Let me set the scene here, boys. Because obviously the shower.
Yeah, Toby, stop pretending to be a snake.
Oh,
Be in the
Jesus.
shower that time.
No, I kind of like the idea of this.
She showers and
I
sex.
just got this idea of them trying to have this conversation just.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say.
Or just her, like, building bricks.
Setting the mood. Just walling herself into the shower. Abby, I feel compelled to stop you.
Just slow clipping her way into the shower.
No, James, this is what I want. This is what I've always wanted. To be walled into my own shower. Really, that seems very short-sighted and will probably result in your death.
It's all I want, James.
I've always, ever since I was young, I've always wanted to drown in a shower, but it's been impossible until now. Pass me the trowel.
The thing is, the amount of times that she says James starts making me think of Mary from Silent Hill 2. It's like, I love you, James.
I said, that's okay. I mean, sometimes providing space is the best way to create more potential for personal growth. Ignoring the overly philosophical nature of my response, she replied,
I love you, James. I don't want to hide anything from you.
I said, I love you too. I know this may sound boring, but you haven't had any issue with everything else I've said being really fucking boring. But I've basically shared every major story in my life with you already. She replied,
And they've all been incredibly dull.
You really have a really dull life. It's really nice to be with someone who I can actually trust. No painful surprises. Not yet, anyway.
Phantom Glide says, Toby, if you keep acting like a snake, Matt is going to want to see your two-headed barbed weenie.
No? Why would you think I'd want to see... I don't want to see his dick normally. Why do I want to see if he's twin-headed? Like, it's really random, right?
Who the fuck told him my one's twin-headed? Who gave him that information?
Sorry, so I sell secrets. It's what I do. Since I can't work it, I can't work at my job anymore. I just sell secrets to the highest bidder.
He sells, she sells.
Like, a man has two dicks, and he tells you in confidence, and now you're just letting that shit go anywhere. So it's not impressed.
Gemma, I'm still up for being Angela in that Silent Hill 2 adaptation, and I will be in touch.
Just.
Oh, Silent Hill 2 adaptation.
Yeah, I'm still working on that.
Nice.
It's a musical.
I paused.
It's a pinball. It's a pachinko machine.
It's like, no, really, I've decided to turn it all and then make it about the abstract daddy in it. And that's the whole thing.
I then said, of course, it takes a much more mysterious person than me to be deceptive, you know. I'm kind of like a window that way.
Oh, but I thought, didn't his mum say it's quite mysterious? Remember that?
Yeah, oh yeah. She remained silent. After a couple of minutes of thinking, she spoke up, saying,
Ms. Robertson hates me.
Hearing this, I felt reassured in my earlier She's telling me something really negative. I felt reassured. I could now see it was safe to continue digging. Again, this is like his best version of himself. I asked, why would she hate you? She went silent for a moment.
I used to see her a lot.
I don't know.
I just struggled a lot before I met you.
She said, thinking about what she was saying, I felt overwhelmed. It was the same sensation I experienced every time she reminded me how important I was to her. What?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, you're so important to me. That gives me the same feeling as when you tell me you struggled a lot and saw a counsellor before we were together. Again, do you see what I mean, Toby? I know obviously you missed the first few chapters, but yeah, this character feels like a psychopath.
Yeah.
Or you know, also a sociopath. You know, somebody he feels like he ought to, you know, do a murder.
It's basically every 5 seconds. Well, I'm so glad I feel.
Apparently, Matt, you brought up Toby's two-headed penis on 3 previous streams.
Well, on the 3rd previous stream, or I've done it 3 times. Either way, how am I supposed to remember anything? Like I don't listen to our own streams.
You're sounding mighty defensive there, man. Methinks the lady doth protest too much.
I even showed you my two-headed penis. Like, you weren't complaining. And now, you're just sharing that information with everyone. I mean, for fuck's sake, you're not sharing the picture with everyone, are you?
So, Toby, you've changed it from having 2 penises to being 2-headed. So now imagine it's like a little T with like 2
Look, you said...
It's like a hammerhead shark.
See, what I was picturing is far worse. I was picturing like a serpent's, like, you know, not even a serpent's, but you know when like weird goths get their tongues like split so they can look like a serpent. I was just picturing like that, just like a heavily modified dick that's been like surgically sliced in half.
I think mine's better. So
Matt, you even said to me on the day, you said 2-headed, 2 shafts. That make no difference to me. It looks hot. Whatever you want.
Ronnie, tell me to change
you
the
had to try
subject.
and get that out. You kept interrupting Gemma to get that out.
Ronnie Tell, thank you so much for your donation. Good to see you guys back at it. Take some of my Trump check. Yes, I'm so jealous of you Americans with your Trump bucks. We don't get that over here. Which is basically they're like, it's just like, my work is closed. It's like, oh, we can't open because of the coronavirus. I'm like, guess I'll die.
Yeah, my like the cinema doesn't like they're just like yeah, we don't get anyone in the cinema.
Yeah, it's like no.
To be fair, Gemma, you weren't doing much before it closed.
True, I've not been working.
You're
Since
just like getting
January.
yelled at for the prices of the popcorn.
Yeah, I still
pick
get
and
yelled
mix.
at. People still just message me out of the blue and just yell at me for the popcorn. It's like their only way of doing it.
Yeah, that woman keeps knocking on your door, complaining about the pick and mix and your scam.
It's like, please stop.
Nishimo Sato says Toby and Matt really do act like a married couple. Well, because they don't talk very much and they never have sex. I replied, trying to encourage Abby. Whatever you were going through before we were together, I mean, I wouldn't say I love you if I wasn't willing to stand by you through everything. She listened and stood in silence for a short time after. I imagined her mind racing to piece everything together. I think she was trying to create a definitive picture of who we were together. I felt she wanted some simple visual aid to sum it all up. She wanted to give it a name. She had all the stitches, fabric and stuffing. What she was missing was the bear. Was she sewing it all together? Looking away from the shower towards the bathroom door, I heard the sound of the curtains opening beside me.
Toby must be so confused. I mean, more than usual, but like, what the bear? What the?
It's just she had all the stitches, the fabric, the stuffing. Was she sewing it all together? Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up, stupid prick. Honestly.
Blue Moon Samurai says that apparently...
Toby's managed to get the amount of hate that we have for Onision over the course of 6 videos in one.
Stupid fucking Ponzi sentence, that is. Well, I'd see that. No. Fuck off.
Blue Moon Samurai, because my dad claims you on his taxes, I don't get a check. Oh, that sucks.
Look at me, James.
It's all for you. And she just continues walling herself in.
It's all for you, just the mortar's ready.
She said in a more collected tone. I looked over at her, seeing her completely naked body standing before me.
Do you see why a school therapist would have a problem with me? I'm clearly really young.
She asked. I was in awe, my heart suddenly pounding in my chest, and I could barely
I
think
was
clearly.
really hoping it would turn out that Abigail's a dude all this time.
Just like, James, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. I was in my heart suddenly. I was consumed with thoughts of how perfect she looked. How everything I imagined was a poor imitation of what reality was now showing me.
Flat prepubescent chest, hairless mound,
See,
Oh,
0 curves.
God, stop. Man, stop. Oh.
I think the madness is starting to set in.
You did gaze upon an elder god.
It's like, look at me, James. Gaze
Tentacle.
upon my true form.
The tentacles.
What? What's going on?
It's like
Gaping
Abby took
hole
me
in
her
eternity
arms,
that is
tentacles.
Abigail.
Are we still talking about sewing? What is this?
Absathoth, the beast of 1,000 eyes. She's like, look at me, James. I cannot.
Where should I look? Oh,
He
no.
stared into the abyss and all of it stared back.
May I please have a crumb of that eldritch coochie?
This is how we get shog-offs.
Okay, guys, it's time. Right, it's time for Gemma to go to bed. Can Gemma's folks come and pick her up?
They're in Brazil.
She whips a massive black cock. The chat is like Matt's being consumed by the power of the Necrononcicon.
I am. My phone's about to die. I'm gonna plug it in.
It's like, what a time to join the streamers off of Toby. Like, well, I haven't read the first, 8 chapters, but, I'm sure I'll catch up with, Abbigale with the 1,000 eyes. She's like, full, deep, bad creepypasta lore. No lubrication.
Alright, Cobe. Continue speaking.
I forgot where the fuck we were. I said, struggling to speak. She asked,
What, James? I'm broken. I'm wrecked. I'm worthless now?
I quickly replied, I see perfection. Nothing else.
You haven't got your clothes on. Abigail, being naked isn't a terrible state of being.
This is how you looked. This is how you looked when you were born, Abigail. Exactly how you looked, because you're 10 and you haven't developed yet.
Can you go make noises somewhere else while you're eating your waffles?
God, it's
I think
horrible.
Toby's just
Sorry.
falling apart. It sounds like every internal organ is screaming at him.
It's a massive bro moment.
Toby,
Bruh.
just don't come back next week.
Story somehow sets off my Crohn's. And
It's like stomach, just like, stop. Please, Toby. This is how his stomach speaks. Please, Toby, I beg you.
Break right now.
my death. This is horrible. Absolutely awful. Continue. Please don't continue.
James, I'm broken. Look at me. My clothes have disappeared.
Oh yeah, we forgot. They went to a special school, didn't they? She's just mentally challenged. Rick isn't the only one who has always been. Yeah, see, Abigail and Rocketfish Rick, I think, are gonna have a big fight at the end. It's to determine the fate of the universe. You cannot consume these people, Absathoth. I won't allow it. Gaze at me, Rick. You have no power over me, beast. Do not cite the old magics at me, witch. I was there when they were written.
Oh no, that's Astaroth. Fucking hell. That's a character from Soul Calibur. I keep thinking that's what you're saying. I'm like, what?
That's a character from
No,
H.P. Lovecraft.
talk about H.P. Lovecraft, monsters, not the guy from Soul Calibur.
Hang
not
on, leave.
Cervantes.
Leave. You two stop bickering before I grab you both in the air and start swinging you around, dual wielding co-hosts and getting massive DPS like fucking Cervantes.
No, Cervantes. Yes, Cervantes does have, massive GPS, and why not? I'm not disputing.
GPS.
Massive GPS.
Well, he's from pirate times. They hadn't invented the little small ones that go in your car yet.
He has lots of maps.
That's what made him such a dangerous person.
It's
in
massive.
Soul Calibur. He had
It's just like a
map.
desk covered in maps and charts. It's
All I'm saying is, while I'm not disputing the fact that Cervantes has massive DPS, I was in fact talking about Astaroth, who is a guy from Soul Calibur who has one big axe, therefore not massive DPS, but somehow he has bigger DPS than Cervantes. Endgame. There you go. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, he can travel a lot farther.
Oh,
Can someone Photoshop Cervantes? He's just got 2 GPSs in his hand.
So I watched a documentary about H.P. Lovecraft the other day, and the best part was when the narrator just was talking and he said the cat's name really casually, like it was nothing, just in the middle of a sentence, like he and his cat had heard a noise that night, and I was like, dude,
oh dear.
He and his cat, the bigger
I
man.
cannot believe.
Yeah.
It may as well have been the way he said it so flippantly. It was like he and his cat Garfield. There was just no hesitation.
It is cat, but unfortunately, H.P. Lovecraft didn't have 5 black friends.
I don't think H.P. Lovecraft had any black friends.
Or friends.
Yeah, or any
Or
friends for that
Irish,
matter.
or anyone of lower breeding. Very racist, that man. Very racist.
Hmm.
Gaze upon me, James. Gaze upon the beauty of Absathoth, the end of all worlds. I'm sorry,
Stop.
James.
What are you saying? What? What is that?
Toby, you needed to be here to get the joke. Just leave it.
Okay.
Okay, Mew3 Warrior simply says hello, and hello to you, guy who apparently speaks like Christopher Robin.
Hello.
I said struggling to speak blah 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 blah. She stood before me, frozen, her arm still holding the curtains back, staring at me. I could see what I had said was racing through her mind. In a soft tone, she asked,
Is this really perfection, James?
as she began pointing out the scars on her body from self-harm. But before she could get past the first few, I began kissing every scar within my...
I want to throw up now.
Toby, stop being a drama queen.
No, why are you guys subjecting me to this at fucking 20 to midnight?
Then
Right.
go away.
All right, I didn't realise that was an option. This is horrible.
Like a
This is-
damn.
It's not like the other times when we hold you down and shit in your ass and force you to stay.
Yeah, well,
Oh, God, no! My bum's full of Matt's poop! Oh, what am I going to do now? Read the story, Toby. I guess I've got no choice now. I've got an anus full of Matt Dixon's feces.
Then we just chuck a waffle in the corner to cheer him up. And that's how our friend... It's a really abusive relationship, but, we give him waffles, so he's happy.
Oh, hey, Fred. You gonna have sex with Toby Mitchell today? Oh, gee, Bond.
His anus is always so full of poop.
It's not even his poop. That's the... That's the kicker, Bond.
Scarlet's poop.
fuck. You guys have lost it since I'm...
This is what not leaving your house does to a person.
Yep.
Jacob, Toby, I don't know what you're talking about. We've always been like this. Don't deny it to yourself.
I was just like, yeah, this... All quarantine has done is open the door inside and let the real us's out.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is me.
Sorry, I've just seen a comment from your mother who just said Toby should have just left well alone. I felt, you know what? I should have left well alone, mate. Really should have.
Toby should have left one. Looks at Noose today, old friend.
I am looking forward to not hearing
Console
you read the
survivor.
next line.
Okay. Like a dam, rapidly cracking open, she began to pour out. Excuse me?
Can
She
you
began
say that
to-
again?
Like a dam, rapidly cracking open, she began to pour out.
Idiot.
We forgot to mention earlier in the story, Abigail was a liquid. As I kissed her marks,
Liquid madness.
I continued kissing. I continued kissing despite her whimpers. If she's whimpering and you're kissing despite, I think that means stop, Greg.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's gonna hold the water away. What if it cracks, son? It will never crack.
I knew this meant everything to her. I wanted to show her how much I loved every part of her. So I kissed and kissed as her body shivered. Still so warm, but consumed by sadness and the fallout of a now retreating fear. I slowly made my way up to her lips and looked deep into her eyes.
without
All
blinking.
of them.
I was still completely clothed,
Good.
but had stepped entirely into the shower. That's just very funny. Like, as an image. Just like a naked girl and just like a fully clothed man just climbing in like, all aboard that's going aboard!
Also, it talks poorly about her brickwork. If you can just knock it over.
Oh, it's like a dam, it just cracked.
Film McCracken.
She and I kissed heavily as I held her naked body against me.
Ugh.
And she was like, I'm naked and he's not. This is a real unbalancing of power. I feel very vulnerable right now. In an instant, we were interrupted with a soul-shattering, thunderous bang on our home's entrance door.
Oh, thank goodness.
Abby looked away and then back at me with a panicked expression. I whispered in her ear, "Don't worry, I left a distraction so you can slip into my room safely." Abby gave a slight smile and nodded.
Simply nodded.
In the background, my mum let out a loud and sarcastic,
Oh, great!
having seen exactly what I hoped she would near the entrance. Abby wrapped it up. It was just a flaming bag of shit.
James, did you shit on the carpet again?
Mother, I can't help
Sorry,
it.
Mum,
I have a
didn't have
glandular
chance to do it on the
problem.
bus.
James, did you shit yourself again?
Abby wrapped a towel around her and, without hesitation, darted across the hall to my room. I remained in the bathroom, now pulling off my clothes to shower to avoid any further confrontation.
Who knocked the trash over?
My mum screamed as I quietly laughed to myself. It was ironic that I knocked it over, considering I was supposed to clean the kitchen.
That's not irony.
But when Abby called me into the bathroom, I figured my mum might not be happy with me being in there with her. She was just another parent horrified by the idea of teen pregnancy.
Were you going to impregnate her?
Like, what was this premeditated? Would she have had a choice?
I've got a bit of a sore throat. Gemma, do you want to swap? Or maybe Toby could?
I'll do it.
I'm not reading this.
I'll do it. Okay.
Onision is the only onion without layers, says Shalongson McJohnson.
As I finished my shower, I could hear my mum muttering in the kitchen about how she was tired of cleaning up after people.
Sorry, Mum.
I yelled and she replied, "You're lucky I love you, otherwise this would not fly." I replied,
I know. I love you too. I'll vacuum the whole house later to make up for it.
I said as I closed my door. Upon my door latching closed, Abby leapt on me, wrapping her pyjama-covered legs around me. My towel fell around my ankles as I dropped my soaked clothes to hold her. She looked down to see me fully naked and laughed.
She kept muttering. Between the gasps, you could hear the words "baby carrot."
I'm going to pay guys. I'm going to pay $100 for you to f off. I stop reading. Yeah, fucking hell. She looked at my.
She looked down to see me fully naked and laughed.
Wow.
I quickly pointed out in a positive tone how awkward her reaction was.
Because that's what a guy wants to hear.
She replied, "No, I'm just surprised that happened. Sorry to knock your towel off." She jumped off and kissed me quickly on the lips, only to drop down to grab the towel.
As she rose
It's
back
okay.
up.
I have really low standards.
As she rose back up slowly, she stopped for a nerve-wracking moment at my waist. I said,
Hey!
and she laughed innocently, quickly wrapping the towel around my waist.
Oh, it needs to stop. This needs to stop.
It does. Abby then stood up completely to continue kissing me.
It's nearly over.
Docile Caterpillar simply says, she laughed at his naked body. That's worrying. TLK Mew3 Warrior, this is by far the scariest thing you have ever read on this channel.
So we just his sense of speech is gone. He's just gurgling in a corner.
Because he was so verbose before.
That night, as we cuddled in bed, I said to her,
Where are we?
You know,
Please don't say
you really do look amazing naked.
She laughed and said, "Shut up!"
God.
Laughing some more, I replied,
No, I'm serious. You're so perfect. Every part of you looks better than I could ever imagine. Crooked Hillary's body, low energy, sad.
She looked back at me and I was arrested behind her. "Kiss me," she said.
It's just like, I feel like the vomit in the back of your throat when you said that bit. Oh god, we're nearly done with this chapter.
Thank God.
We began kissing heavily once again, this time sliding off each other's clothes. Though we didn't try to go any further than just being physically close, we would lie there, kissing and loving the feeling of each other, without any barriers. What a ponce. We fell asleep in each other's arms, our hair a mess, so comfortable we didn't care about anything but being together. That night I felt I was closer to her than anyone in my entire life. Well, let's hope so. Let's hope you hadn't, you know...
Turn into David Attenborough.
I'll take her back.
Okay,
I'll take her back to
so-
kindergarten tomorrow.
Who wants to do another chapter?
Not me. Fuck off. No.
So he was just like, no, I've
So
got
we
far
said
more
make
important...
Toby read the rest
I've
of the book.
got more important things to do, said Toby, like bringing my own piss to a boil on the stove and then climbing in.
99999.
Literally. Yeah. Anything. Okay. Ridiculous.
How many chapters do we have left?
Eden
So,
Hackett
Toby,
says
should
if
you
I
join
have
us
to listen
next
to
time,
these,
or
Eden says if I
I
have to
mean-
listen to these fuckers have sex, I'm going to light myself on fire.
Free to bet.
How many chapters do we have left?
All right.
We're only about halfway through, a little over halfway.
There are 20 chapters, and we've just read chapter 11.
Come on.
Great.
Yeah, I
Tell
don't
me
think
you're
we'll be
coming
getting
back
back.
for the next one.
Meh.
If you don't take your own life between the streams, that is.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
He's found dead with his back broken and his dick in his own mouth. People thought it was sexual, but it was actually suicide.
I think the word is shell shocked, really.
It is sort of like going off to war, isn't it? You read Stones to Abbigale, you come back changed.
I'm definitely changed.
It's. I mean, the fact that obviously Onion Boy sat there and he was like, I'm going to be known for this one, boys. This is it. It's my legacy I'm writing down here.
Magnum opus.
With
This is it. This is the one they're going to remember me for.
I will.
Disgusting human being. Disgusting human being.
I will say, I mean, I can see a tiny bit of chapter 12, and I like how she says, "I got you, creeper."
Is a sting operation? She was in cahoots with Cringe Hansen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got it.
Have a seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad.
Was
This
that,
is fucking bad.
Jacob, do you remember that joke from all those years ago? She's 16.
I just remember that joke from Mitchell and Webb. Look, you saying that just like and that in the Number One studio. That is where Michael Parkinson was caught having sex with a number 11. To this day, he swears it was 16.
Now we know.
Fucking Mitchell and Webb was so good. It's such a good show.
Oh my god. That is fucking funny.
You want to make a bit of money? Do what I did. Get into farming. I got that. Selling corn. Comes out of the fucking ground. I couldn't believe it.
I remember the commentary yeah, it made us unpopular in the West Country for a while.
Some chickens. Eggs just fall right out of their
And
ass.
it's like, you see that? It's made of chicken. It's actually made of chicken. Kill it, you get free chicken. Don't kill it, fucking eggs come out of their arses.
Was that the Mitchell and Webb situation?
Yeah, that was Mitchell and Webb's situation.
Yeah.
The situation was better than Look, I think.
Although they had this quick fetch the Mets.
So yeah, Look had a lot more like recurring characters. Like you had the snooker commentators and the writers who don't do any research.
And Sir Digby Chicken Caesar.
Yeah.
That's the badness. Oh,
that's a bad
I remember they had one sketch that was really heartfelt. They made a joke about them, they're heartfelt, where it's like Sherlock Holmes, but if he had Alzheimer's.
Oh yeah.
That was so sad.
Yes, I remember that.
Oh, it was so funny. He grabbed a hand and was like, "I'm a Chinaman."
So this is Number One, and this is Simon from space. It's like, hello, I'm Simon.
God, this is just so much
We
better
made-
than reading Onision. Just yeah, we could all be watching Mitchell and Webb instead of reading Stones to Abbigale.
Well, we've literally kept making the jokes about the event, which probably a bunch of people don't even know what that's from. That's a Mitchell Webb, isn't it? Where
Yeah.
it's
I love
stay
that.
inside.
That is kind of like what it is now, because they're doing comic relief at the moment, and it's the big night in, and it's just going to be we will not speak about the event.
Tilke Mew3 Warrior, I just want you guys to know that I still love you, and I hope this $5 makes a tiny difference to help you. Thank you very much.
Well, Jacob's been getting a lot of super chats, haven't he, today?
I have indeed. This is basically my job now since I can't work, so I'm pretty grateful.
You can't do it like a camera version of a escape room.
Yeah, pretty much. I can't run an escape room from my house. Where they're like, right, you're in your house and you've got to escape, and I'm going to give you clues from my house. Doesn't really
Well,
work.
we don't want to escape. It's dangerous outside.
It's dangerous to go
Well,
alone
that's the thing,
outside.
it's
Take
escape.
this, hands them a mask.
Look, you send them just like a PDF, and then you just like make them run for it, and it's like you're just doing a D&D game over the web, and just calling it an escape room.
Who would win between Marvel's New Warriors and H.P. Lovecraft's cat?
H.P. Lovecraft's cat.
Yeah.
It's snowflake and safe
Yeah,
space, and we're gonna run away.
Good theme song.
One's
I'm a fan of
gonna
that.
get, well, one's not gonna be able to run away. She's probably gonna get a stitch and then stop for a snack.
No, that's Trailblazer. She's
Yeah,
blazing
yeah,
the
she's gonna,
trails
like, just
with
get-
her trail mix, which is full of M&Ms.
I just got a message on Snapchat. It was just a meme of the from Avengers Infinity War, and it's just like, and it was just did you get a £100 super chat? I'm like, yeah. What did it cost you? Everything. Oh god, fuck. All right, I'm gonna have to do the entirety of Shadow the Hedgehog. I hope you guys fucking realize what you're in for.
Remember that, and bring up every time he's doing something and he's not doing Shadow. Make him do Shadow.
Yeah, and I'm working on the new Frankenstein video, and everyone's just like, yeah, don't care about this passion project. Just play Shadow the Hedgehog.
Like
We know
Onision
you're
runs
bad
an
at it,
escape
we
room
don't
from
care.
children in his house all the time. And that's why his daughter jumped out of a window.
Right, Jacob, I made a joke about you 100%ing it, because I think there's something like 16 endings.
Yeah, I'm not, but the thing is, no, we said about me playing from beginning to end, and I will do that.
Yeah, 100%.
No, as in playing through the game from beginning to end.
So what are you gonna do?
Not getting every single ending and all that shit.
Are you gonna kill the black creatures?
Oh my god, Jesus Christ, Gemma.
That's what they're
Wow,
called!
I think Scott. Wow.
That's what
Cre-
Sonic
I
calls
actually
them!
Creatures as well,
Scotland,
Gemma.
but
Fuck
wow,
me.
Jesus Christ, Gemma.
H.P. Lovecraft over here.
Sonic, that's what he says. Is like, let's kill the black creatures. That's what he says in the game.
Just like
Sort of
do
your
do
way
do
to
do
say
do 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 do. Just Sonic says do 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 do. Don't care, didn't ask. Plus you're black.
Cobb said that.
That's subhuman.
But honestly, look it up. He's like, let's kill the black creatures. That's what he says.
No, you're on the best version. I think I've shown it to several people. It's,
Jim is riding a serious fucking Mandela effect wave right now. It's like, do you remember that time where that Sonic the Hedgehog game where he's like, can we genocide the blacks? Come on, you must remember.
Look, the best one of those is
What's it called? Yeah, that level. What's it called? Rwanda Zone.
Look, Jacob, the best one of those. I think I've sent you this before. Like Dragon Ball Z had a new series come out, and there's a scene where a bunch of people are pointing guns at the main character, and this guy comes out and goes, "Wait, don't shoot! He's not black."
I've seen that clip.
Yeah, the president says it too, and he also says these black creatures really mean business.
We
So
have
the
the
game
best
predicts-
black creatures. Honestly, they come here, they mean business. I love them. I love black creatures. Crooked Hillary's black creatures. Low energy.
How do we move on from that?
It's $200 for Sonic 06 when we played it.
We did, but we didn't 100% it. Because we recorded a bunch of episodes and then my computer basically died, so we only ever released one.
We played
Hey,
it on
Fuck
a
me,
stream,
it was
so-
oh god, it was so fun though. Like some of the episodes, like it's annoying because I'm really
Well-
proud of how funny they were, and then you know,
Yeah, but we
such
played,
is life though.
yeah, but we played it on stream, Cobb, and we did 100% it. Remember?
No, that's the Mandela effect again, Jill.
Oh.
You've slipped into the reality where we did not complete Sonic 06 on stream.
It's the reality.
I've completed Sonic 06.
I remember how long it took you to try and do that fucking like glitch where you like just spin, kick around, and make that crate fall into the air. That was
Yeah, when we first
took
played,
ages.
I don't know why, but like the first time we played it, when we did the playthrough for the recorded one, every time we jumped on a box, we could just make that glitch happen. But then when I did it on stream, it was like damn near impossible to pull it off. Because we started an episode, I remember, of like that, of just letting the box go all the way to the top of the screen, then watching it disappear, and falling for like miles and miles and miles, and then just click. I was like, "Welcome back to Sonic 06."
Yeah.
Sonic 06 KKK edition.
I remember that. That was hysterical. Holy shit. I think that memories.
I think Toby's very tired.
Yeah, guys, let's put Toby to bed and give him a bedtime story.
Let's end it.
Alright. Please no.
Once upon a time, there was a young onion called James.
Twaster my dude says the reason why instant death disease is so effective is because every utterance has a condensed Stones to Abbigale reading prolonged by dark magic. Lemonade and waffles song. It's just Toby's mum putting him to bed. And he's like, "Can you sing my favourite song to me, mum?" I'm like, "Oh, it's late, Toby. Please." "Oh, all right. I'm a secret lemonade drinker." And then Toby's just sitting in bed like, "Ah, whites. Ah, white. I've been trying to give it up. It's one of those nights." And his mum like shuffles out of the room, like to turn the light off. "Ah, white's lemonade."
Imagine you're doing that.
Yeah, it's funnier for us because you can literally picture Toby's mum.
I'm imagining Toby in like a child's bed, but as tall as he is, so his legs are just sticking off the end.
His bed's just like a racing car.
Can we make this?
Yeah, I was going to say racing car.
You have to send him back to the lemonade chamber in the basement, Gemma.
Crouch to Abbigale.
I'm at that moment still. That's fucking fantastic. Holy shit.
Is that like Toby's self-insert version where he like takes the place as James and is just very confused?
I feel like anybody could replace James in this story. Just any moderately proactive male could replace James, and the story would be over in 10 minutes.
It's like bad creepypasta, hope is lost. Alright, Toby, back in your cage. It's like, Toby, Gemma, sing for me. Gemma sings entire Moon Man album.
Bloody hell.
Oh.
Kidney
Well, on that
stone
high
stab.
note,
Before I go, I'm going to throw out my Twitch because I do live streams sometimes if anyone wants to watch them. Lol.
You should. Genuinely, guys, if you have Twitch, you should follow Toby on Twitch.
I was playing second today, and that was quite funny. So you guys missed out. I'll play it again soon. I'm actually twitch.tv/Dreamcasted. Yeah, there you go. So my name is Dreamcasted on Twitch. There you go. Just a Dreamcast, followed by the word ED. I'm gonna shut up because I'm bad at promoting myself now.
Stupid fucking phone. I wasn't ready. I wasn't finished typing.
Just twitch.tv.
What's that Twitch there, Jacob? I don't know. What is that?
well, he was trying to write it down because you were terrible in your speaking and no one could hear what you said. So no one knows where to go to.
Dreamcasted.
Say it normally, Toby.
Dreamcasted. There you go. I would normally have it appear on the screen. There is no screen for me to make it appear on. Well, there is, but I can't screen appear. There you go. Jacob did it for me. Thank you, Jacob. You're the living legend.
Go lie down, Toby. You need it.
I probably will.
Yes, good night, Toby. I'm just going to sing you a lullaby, okay? I'm a secret lemonade drinker.
Alright.
Right, bye, Toby.
Post Malone's to Abbigale.
Love you all. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Right, well, that's Toby gone. It was nice to have him on the stream for once. Always.
If he comes back, I will be shocked.
Yeah, if he returns for the next one, there's no fucking way, is there?
Like, when I said to you earlier, it's like, hey, do you want to do something? I was following like just a random creepypasta we could grab Toby for, not this.
Maybe it's now canon because he's in the picture now.
Just Photoshop him out. Just crop that.
It's like, I'll just put this dick in his mouth.
Alright. Yeah, I'll be heading off soon. Jacob, is there any other... I've still got a few things, files. Like, did you download any things I've sent you? Like the
I'm still waiting for one from you. One of the, I think it was like I don't want to say too much, but the Chris Chaney thing. I'm waiting for that.
Oh, which one? Or both?
Both.
I've also got the boyfriend thing.
Yeah, send me that.
And are we going to do the Harry Potter one or?
No, but send it to me anyway, just for fun, just for me to listen to.
Okay, I think you should do that one because it's meme worthy and they don't deserve any pity.
I think it's too mean, but like we'll, send it over anyway. I can listen to it.
Is that the one I read?
Yeah.
Yeah. Get on that, Gemma. Make sure he puts it out. It's worth ridicule.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good night, folks. Thank you all for coming to the stream today. I hope you've had a good time. We certainly haven't. No, we've had a good time too. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next time. Next video up will probably realistically be Frankenstein Retrospective Part 2. And then after that, we'll be cracking on, apparently, with Shadow the Hedgehog. So
I do have a video coming out from just that is just me.
Yeah, Jim has got a narration coming out as well. All right.
And the next episode of Stones to Abbigale will be whenever the hell we feel like it.
Yeah,
no
basically.
more schedule.
Yeah, look, guys, History of Power Rangers will come out when it's ready, all right?
All right, see ya.
See you later.
Bye.